My name is Simon Hopkins. I'm going to be your host for the day. I'm also here as the Creative Industries Knowledge Transfer Network's representative, and I'm going to talk in a couple of minutes about their work. And I'm also here as the KTN's Metadata Theme Champion, which always makes people smirk, and I shall be joking about that continually through the morning. Before we crack in, before I tell you about the shape of the day, I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping. KTN's role with the creative industries is to ensure that as many of those industries as possible benefit from smart uses of technology. And our aim is to ensure that that is done through in-depth reports, through recommendations, and in the case of metadata this year, through administering 2 TSB funding calls. If I was to say, right, what comes to mind, what key phrases or words come to mind if we talk about metadata? Come on. Sorry? Lots. Volumes. Stuff, behaviour. Like it.
Hi, my name's Coral Granger and I'm from Capital Relations. We help build relationships in collaborative partnerships, particularly between sectors, business and academia. So today's been really useful in understanding these big processes.
It's all about new tools, or actually using existing tools in better ways. So tools that encourage metadata's value, that surface metadata in the production process, or that allow you to automate the inclusion of metadata so that it doesn't become an overhead for the CEO to cut costs with. So improving in the process, hopefully improving actually the efficiency of the workflow itself, we think is an output that should come from this. And ultimately, possibly even enabling the commercialization of individual components.
The BBC itself obviously has large numbers of metadata systems. We've got things for managing the archive, finding data, all of these sorts of things. There's things like metadata which is supplied by cameras, there's metadata which is supplied by people doing the archival, etc. So why am I here? Well, the reason I'm here is because recently I've been working on a project which actually involved creation of metadata of a new kind from a BBC's perspective. I work in R&D, obviously. So I'm kind of going to talk from that perspective. I'm also more focused on what metadata can do for me rather than what metadata I can do for metadata.
I think I've just learnt much more, particularly in terms of filming processes, the real-time metadata that Mark from BBC was talking about. I'd never really thought of it in that context, so that's a whole new area and a whole new dimension of opportunities really of what we can do with the data that I've been working with.
In particular, for me, it was a new research area because my background is network systems, not metadata. So actually sharing that learning aspect of understanding what is metadata and going through that and saying to people, actually, no, it's not just this dry potential subject, it's what you make of it.
How do you get ads in the right place in drama? If it's in the wrong place, it doesn't matter how targeted that ad is, how relevant it is to the user, the right ad to the right person, put it in the wrong place and it's not going to work. So what story metadata can do is tell the ad where to run so it doesn't spoil the story. Story metadata shows you when a moment of mystery has ended or a cliffhanger is ready for an ad.
So what's the scope? There's really 2 parts to it. The first part is about capturing and preserving. So think back to what I've just been saying. Ideas and concept metadata as early on as that. So it's not just about the individual shots or the individual textures or the individual loops. It can actually even be back to the early part of a script or a storyboard. Mechanical, contextual, logistical, operational metadata. All the stuff in the setup, all the instrument settings, all the camera positions, all the stage blocking, all of that kind of stuff gets documented in every project so that you don't have continuity problems, or you don't have a problem if you stop a project and then want to go back to it again. Can we use metadata more effectively than that? Are we generating metadata in the process of doing that, which we could be using in other ways? And then the other half is all about organization and making it accessible. So organizing stuff. So if you're generating all this metadata associated with all this stuff, then how are you organizing it and how are you actually going to find it again? And can you use that to actually help you in the production process and make things more efficient? Can you do it in real time? So can it happen as part of the whole process rather than as a post-production or as a retroactive fit? Can it allow us to actually create better interfaces on what we're actually trying to do? Or do we need better interfaces to use this stuff?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on that one of the rounds you'd had a disappointing turnout for. What themes or approaches do you think people kind of veered away from?
The one that we've had fewer applicants for that we would have liked is this current one, the first part of the metadata one.
Okay, the word out there is exploitation. That is continually absolutely key to TSB. They don't want you just to research stuff. This is UK PLC. They want you to get out there and they want you to get more funding or export or sell or whatever. And you have to, at the end, you have to have, even at the beginning of your project, you have to write an exploitation plan. At the end of your project, they're expected to see a really good exploitation plan, and then ideally they will come back a year later and say, what did you actually do then? So you have to partner for TSB projects normally. They don't like there to be more than 70% of the funding going to any one member of the partnership because it ceases to be a consortium.
We're tools of directing. We're looking for partners who will be able to take that metadata and work with it, take it through the process, take it through to the exhibition, the getting it out there, looked after with all the other metadata.
So we had a fast track project. We'd done all this work on the Wii. They were interested in how, Bolton University were very interested in how it would work on PC, how it would work with their students, and really took it in a whole different direction. We carried on developing really a library on the Wii and thinking about that. They went and used something called GlovePi, which is a kind of abstract interface for any type of controller.
Has the internet got another question?
I'm afraid it has. I've been asked for a clarification on the dates. If you could go back to that slide and just repeat those, that would be great.
Just to recap then on the dates. So these are the dates for the second metadata call that we have just recently announced. It opens on the 14th of March, and that's when the real detail and the application forms will be available and you can start the process of applying. There will be a briefing session which is optional on the 24th of March, and the location of that will be announced in good time. If you're interested in a major mainstream R&D collaborative project, then you need to write an expression of interest letter. That's a kind of an application in its own right, and you'll find a form that will tell you all about that, and what you have to say in there, and that needs to be in by the 21st of April of next year.
Well, metadata and data in general is something of interest to us, particularly to the data mining research center. So we are doing some research in this area. For the moment, we are touching into metadata in electronic commerce, basically, and we have heard about this call, and it is certainly something that interests us very much, and we are hoping that we are going to put a bid as a consequence of attending this gathering here today.